Let me start this video off by saying happy autumn equinox to everybody. And if you don't know what the autumn equinox is, that is the day that is the official start of autumn, because that is when there is an even amount of day and night. And as we step into the autumn equinox starting on September 22nd, approximately at 2:19 p.m., the veil feels just a little bit thinner and the night's just a little bit longer. The energy around us shifts. And what better time to dive into some spooky stories, from ghostly folklore to chilling true crime, into those crazy declassified CIA documents and encounters that simply defy logic and explanation. Tonight's compilation will take you down some of the darkest, craziest rabbit holes we've seen here on the channel yet. Because as y'all can see in recent events, especially when it comes to the government, if they shenan once, they gonna shenan again. What's good in the YouTube hood? It's your girl, Luna Nova, and I'm back with another one for y'all today. Welcome back to the Mystic Muse, where we dive into the eerie, the unexplained, and the mysteries that refuse to stay hidden. Much like most of the content here on the Mind channel, this compilation, I've gathered some of the creepiest stories out there. Haunted folklore passed down through generations, real-life true crime with sinister twists, and those declassified CIA documents, and first-hand encounters that simply can't be explained. So get comfortable, get your witch's brew, and light a protection candle or two, and let's go ahead and get into tonight's compilation, only if you dare.
As some of you may already know, the CIA has thousands of declassified documents that anybody can just get online and read. And these are not weak reports. These reports were so crazy to me that I had to stop and make sure I was actually on the CIA website and not looking up creepypastas. Now, there are well-documented reports of UFO sightings, alien sightings, and even alien abduction. But their declassified reports on paranormal things and superhuman abilities are just as crazy, if not crazier. For example, in one of these unclassified documents, it talks about how they had to investigate a man who was able to heal people by just touching them. What was stranger than the claim of this man being able to do this was that they had a scientific explanation explaining how this man was able to do this. Basically saying that there's an electromagnetic field around each human being that's able to be controlled through emotion.
I saw this post and I really wanted to share one of my ghost stories I have. I'm gonna start this off by saying, if you are going to use Ouija boards, please use them responsibly and respectfully. It's really not something you want to fuck with, and if you're gonna do it, just do it right, okay? Secondly, you don't have to believe me. That's okay. I'm perfectly okay with that. But I was there and I know it happened. I know it happened. So, basically my friends and I, there was 3 of us in total. We had played with the Ouija board before, so we weren't like new to it. And we decided that we were gonna go to the lake and play the Ouija board there. So we pull up to the lake around, I want to say it was like 8 or 9, and then we were in a truck, so we like set up camp in the back of the truck, right? And you know, we start talking to some spirits. We talked to a girl who was drowned in the lake and whatever. Okay, so we get to this one spirit, all right? And we'd always ask like the same couple questions, right? You know, like, is anyone there? What's your name? How did you die? Or what year did you die, I should say. And basically, you know, we asked, are you there? It said yes. We asked, what's your name? And it goes to spell out Zozo. And we're like, like, don't say that. And a little preface, if you don't know, like, Zozo is a bad omen and you don't want it to be said, or like you don't want the spirit to say that. Like, it's just not something you want to mess with. That, right? And then we asked, what year did you die? And it was like, try to spell Zozo again, and then it said doesn't die. So it's like, Zozo doesn't die. And we're like, okay. And then it started saying some weird stuff like, I'm watching y'all, I'm always watching. And then it said, orange light, look under there. and across the lake was an orange street light, and under it was a black figure just fucking standing there. And when I tell you we were in utter shock, we were like, is that you? And he's like, yeah, that's me. Like, come over here. Like, y'all need to come over here. And eventually, you know, we just said goodbye to that spirit and was like, oh, that's a little weird, right? Like, that's kind of crazy. But we stuck around and talked to some other spirits, and then, I think, I want to say like 30, 45 minutes go by, and then we're like, should we go over there? And so we do. So we pull up over there, and it's like a one entrance exit area. And we pull in, and as soon as we pull in, we notice that there's no one under the street light, but two cars that were hiding in the dark flick their headlights on and try and block us into this one entrance exit place. But like I said, we were in a truck, so we like scurried out of there before they could block us in, and then they started following us for a couple miles. Then a car got in between us and those two cars, and they just started following that car, and we still don't know what would have happened if those cars kept following us or what. But yeah, that's my story.
Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true.
So I absolutely love whenever ghosts are trending on TikTok because it gives me a chance to show you guys the best ghost pictures I've ever seen. And the coolest part about it is my husband's cousin took them. So years ago, my husband's cousin goes down to New Orleans and does one of those historical tours. And one of the last stops that they made was the house of Madame LaLaurie. And she is a awful, despicable human being. You can Google her if you want, but I'd rather not give her any more time. So she takes a couple pictures, and she also wants me to reiterate that nobody walked across the entire sidewalk the entire time that they were taking these pictures or while the tour was going on. All right, so let's just get into it. This is the first photo. There's really nothing to see, but it does set the scene. They're in front of her house and nothing's going on. This is where it starts to get interesting. If you notice, you can clearly see somebody walking by, and to me, her shoe looks like an old saddle shoe, definitely something from the early 1900s. It's giving Titanic. But this is the photo you're going to want to hide in the comments for. What is that? Like, what is that? I mean, this person literally looks like they're floating. It's insane. It's the best ghost picture I've ever seen. To this day. People have their theories whether or not it's her or one of her daughters, because I guess she fled to Paris or her house burnt or something like that. But all in all, super creepy. The veil is definitely thin, and it looks like you're looking into another dimension.
If you like paranormal shit, listen to what just happened to me and my husband. So we're sitting at the table eating dinner, right? And our window's open because we have Siberian Huskies. It's cold out. They force us to open the window. They're like bullies, but nonetheless. Window's open. We're eating, we're sitting, and all of a sudden the dogs pop up and they're both by the window. And that doesn't happen. These dogs could literally, somebody could be breaking in the house and taking all my shit and they would not even give a singular fuck. That's just how Huskies are. So we're like, okay, well, what the fuck is out this window, right? So me and my husband are like kind of just like looking, and I say to the dogs, obviously not thinking I'm gonna get an answer, hey, who do you guys say? And I kid you not, we hear a voice that I've never heard before. It sounded like a child's voice say, it's me, bitch. It better fucking not be. I don't want no. It better not be you. My husband runs downstairs, gets his gun. I start backing away from the window because I'm like, I don't care who it is. Like, no, thank you. He goes outside, scopes out the area. We have a camera, nothing on the camera, nobody in the yard. We have a fenced-in yard. Like, no.
USA took over the Philippines using psychological warfare in the 1950s. How? We knew Filipinos believed in the paranormal and were mostly afraid of vampires. You took over the country using vampires? One of the rebel fighters that was trying to take their country back, we found him and then punctured his neck and drained him of his blood, and then left him out there. It was pretty funny because they found him and they freaked out. It was the number one story in the Philippines at the time, and at that moment we put Ramon Magsaysay, who was a puppet for us, in the runner for president and funneled a bunch of money into his campaign from DC so he would be guaranteed to win. Why would you kill an innocent man for that? It was the only way to control the Philippines from the inside, was to be in charge of their president. Pause. By that logic, anyone can funnel money into a presidential campaign and guarantee a win so that the president can be the puppet for whoever gave them the money, right? Yeah, I mean, we did a little extra things like drugged his opponent's drink before one of the speeches so he appeared drunk while he was on stage, and Ramon Magsaysay looked like the more coherent person for president. That is diabolical. We also flew over villages and said on loudspeaker that if they didn't vote for Magsaysay that they would be cursed forever, but we really didn't need to do that. That was just something extra I did. Yeah.
So happy you're here. Let's go through it rapid fire. So there are many CIA declassified documents where they explore the psychic abilities of humans. Now, during this time that the CIA was doing this, tensions were high between the US, the Soviet Union, China, and the US heard that Russia and China were training psychics and having a lot of success with it. So they were like, we gotta look into this. Does it sound familiar? If you've seen Stranger Things, you know how Elle is able to send herself to the void. And in the void, she can see things. Well, the CIA was testing very similar things. They were doing astral projection, remote viewing. Remote viewing is essentially one's ability to send one's consciousness to a different space, different time, and you're able to see certain details and write them down. So the question is, did it work? In 1979, the US was remote viewing the Soviets. Joe McMoneagle, who's one of the most famous remote viewers, remote viewed a dry dock location where the Soviets were working on a new submarine, significantly larger than anything they've done before. He wrote the report, but a lot of people didn't believe him because it was beyond what they believed the Soviets had the capabilities to do until they looked into it and found it. In 1974, Pat Price remote viewed a top secret Soviet research facility. He literally drew a picture and gave the location, all of which was confirmed. But here's where it gets crazy. Let's talk about Joe McMoneagle again. In 1984, the CIA wanted to do a remote viewing experiment with him. He was not told what he'd be remote viewing prior to the experiment. He went into a room, he sat down, and he was given an envelope. The envelopes had coordinates and a specific time. So what he saw was large pyramid-like structures, canyons, valleys, and the remnants of an advanced civilization. The planet was undergoing severe climatic and atmospheric changes. He saw lots of massive dust storms. He saw these tall, skinny humanoid figures that looked distressed from the environmental conditions. The beings appeared to be looking for a way to escape the planet, because the planet, its civilization, it was at its twilight. So what was he remote viewing? The information he was provided was Mars 1,000,000 years ago. Mars 1,000,000 years ago. Obviously, there's like no way to know if that is true, but there are many instances where remote viewing has been proven to be effective. In 1979, the Pioneer 11 spacecraft was able to see Saturn, where it discovered that Saturn had rings. Here's the crazy thing. This is Ingo Swann, a very famous American psychic. In 1973, so 6 years before that, he remote viewed Saturn and described its rings. He spoke of its atmospheres, storms, faint ring system, all which science later confirmed. That's wild, that's crazy, it's amazing what the human consciousness can do. One of the groups that the CIA would work with was called the Monroe Institute, which still runs today. And this is the craziest aspect about everything. They teach that every single human being has these abilities, and they literally teach you courses on how you can learn to do it yourself. They even teach you how to freaking bend spoons with your mind. They offer like in-person courses, but there's also a ton of free stuff everywhere online. But it's crazy. It is such a fun rabbit hole. You need to dive in.
Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true.
Okay, so when this happened, I was 19, and at the time, like my friends and I, we would mess around and go to graveyards and play with the Ouija board. Well, one night, I remember I was sleeping in my bed. It was in the middle of the night, and I woke up and I was completely paralyzed. But I could see my room. To the right of my bed was a big window and like a little small table with a lamp on it. And then across the room was my bedroom door. And on the back of it was like this little hanger thing that had hooks where I put all my purses. And I always slept with my door shut. So basically, I'm laying in bed, I wake up, I'm like in between. I'm like in the in between. Like I'm not fully awake, but I'm aware and I can see everything, but I can't move my body. Like I'm completely paralyzed. So I look around with my eyes, and there is a man standing to the right of my bed, in between my bed and the big window. And he is completely in black and white. Like he has a suit and tie on. His skin is gray. His eyes are completely black. Like, oh, so scary. Like a demon, black. And he has like this huge, raggedy, like shattered looking, creepy jaw. And I could see him, and I'm staring at him. Panic is flooding my body. Like I can't move. All I want to do is just run, you know, but I can't move. I'm paralyzed. And this thing is staring at me. And I remember the minute it knew that I was looking at it, it started to open its mouth. And it was just like this super elongated, like mouth open, like flapping. Oh my God. And I just remember wanting to move and being stuck like that, which felt like an eternity, but it was only a matter of seconds, I'm sure. Well, so I'm trying to wake my body up. I'm telling myself, like, get the fuck up, like, move. And simultaneously, my body is waking up and I can move. I'm reaching to turn on the light, and this thing jumps over my bed, and then it like flies over my bed across the room and lands on the back of the door. His feet are on the door and his hands are holding onto the purse hooks. And he looks back at me with his giant jaw open, and I turn on the light and he's gone. I will never forget that. I will never forget that. It was the scariest thing ever. Like to this day, I can't sleep without a light on. What's even crazier though is at that time I got a medium reading, and she told me, she's like, you have abilities, and there's a spirit of suicide that's attached itself to you. His name is George. You need to send him into the light. Well, I didn't know any Georges. Like I didn't know anything. I didn't know anybody that had committed suicide. So that was weird. But I remember asking my mom if she had known anyone named George who had committed suicide. And she goes, believe it or not, your great, great, great uncle, George, he shot himself. And yeah, that was just nuts. So I think that because we played with the Ouija board, I opened up something and spirit came to see me. But yeah, I have a lot of stories actually, but that one was the most like life-changing one for me. So don't mess with Ouija boards.
My mom played with the Ouija board in 1991, and that's how she found out she was pregnant with my brother, and now weird things happened to me, which is what this comment was about. So here's some more weird stuff that happened to me because of it. Oh, completely forgot to mention that when they try to get rid of the board, every single time they would try to get rid of it, it would show up under my aunt's bed. I don't know. It was not until they gave it to a coworker that the board left their life. One of the weird things that happened to me was in college when I was around 22. I was having like really weird what I thought was anxiety at the time, to the point that I got put on 3,600 milligrams of an anti-anxiety medicine every single day. But it wasn't just that. So it was anxiety plus constantly feeling tired, like feeling a really weird sense of dread, waking up with sleep paralysis in the middle of the night with scratches like the one I showed in that video. And at the time, I thought I was having low-level hallucinations from being sleep deprived because of waking up with the sleep paralysis so often. So I would see figures like just around me. I don't know how to explain it. Like I would see figures out of the corner of my eye. Like I would sense like somebody was like behind me. It's weird. There's more. Hold on. I forgot to mention this. My shoulders always felt really heavy during this time. There was a lot of noises going on. Okay, I'm trying to get through this fast. During this time, my brother was also going through something else, which I can't share what he was going through, but because of what he was going through, they decided to consult somebody who did limpias, so like a curandera type of situation going on. And then the solution she came up with him for like his cleansing was very like, you guys do it at home, here's the list of things you need to do. So she didn't gain any money off of that. But then they brought me up to preface this next part. Earlier that day that this story takes place, I was in the shower and my ear started ringing and hurting pretty bad. Okay, back to the story. One night, my brother calls me and he's like, hey, does your ear or face hurt? I said, huh? I said, what the fuck? Why do you know that? Yeah, when I was in the shower, it was hurting and I didn't tell anybody that. I just thought about it and then completely forgot about it. And he goes, what the fuck? And I was like, what the fuck? What's going on? I'm scared. He goes, we talked to the lady who does the limpias. She said that you have like a spirit following you and you have a spirit of a dead relative attached to you. And then she started listing the symptoms without ever talking to me, with very minimal information. She started listing all the symptoms I've been having. So feeling tired, feeling like heavy in the shoulders, the anxiety, seeing figures, all this. She started listing it out and I hadn't even told my brother all these symptoms. Anyway, she was like, you have to get over here like immediately. I don't think you're okay. Anyway, we go over there. She does the limpia. It was a 3-day thing. It was some eggs in there. There was a ring of fire in there that I had to stand in the middle of, and there was a lot of praying and chanting. There was some going on with some plants in there. I don't know. The point is, it fucking worked. After the 3 days, I felt great. I went from being on 3,600 milligrams of an anti-anxiety medication to down to like 800 or something, and I was completely fine. And I know a lot of people don't believe in stuff like that, but that was my experience. And if that's what got me to get better, then that's what got me to get better, because my life was really hard to live at the time. Anyway, I have not talked to my family yet since yesterday, so I'll ask them for their stories if you guys want to hear more, because my brother and I talked about this one time, and there's like a lot of weird stuff that happened to him too.
I seriously can't shake this story. It has haunted me for the last 15 years. And I can't believe I'm even thinking about it, let alone speaking it out loud right before I attempt to go to sleep. Baby, them sleep paralysis demons are gonna have a lot of ammo for me tonight, and that's what I freaking know. But either way, when I was about 13 years old, I became friends with a girl named Ashley. So one of the first times that I spent the night at her apartment, her mom told me and her the story of a little girl that had passed away there. Now, the only people that lived in Ashley's apartment was her mom, and her older sister. But at the time, her older sister didn't stay there a lot. And her mom had this hanging like swing. It was a little tiny doll swing that would hang from the ceiling. And she also had like this small glass cabinet where she had a few porcelain dolls. Don't even get me started about porcelain dolls and how creepy they are. So one of the first things that ever happened in Ashley's apartment was, it was me, her, and a couple of our other friends, and we were sitting there talking. So we start talking about scary stuff that's ever happened to, you know, each of us or whatever. And I told Ashley, I was like, tell them what your mom told us. And she told them, you know, when my mom signed on for this apartment, they told her that there had been a death in that apartment in recent years, and it was a young child about 7 years old, and that she had gotten electrocuted in the upstairs bathroom. And Ashley couldn't stand to sleep alone upstairs because of it. So she tells them that, and then they're like saying a couple other little things that had happened to them. And all of a sudden, that doll sitting on the swing, hanging from the ceiling, just starts swinging and like twirling like from side to side. There were no air vents in the ceiling near that doll, and none of us were touching that doll. And it just literally started swinging at full force. And we were, you know, preteen girls, so we freaked out, took off running outside. We did not go back in until her mom got home. Now, I stayed with Ashley a lot, you know, in middle school, and there was one time, this was terrifying, but when her sister wasn't there, we always slept in her room. We stayed up pretty late just talking and hanging out, and neither one of us had like smartphones or anything like that, but we kept hearing noises coming from the bathroom, which was directly beside of her sister's room. Her mom would sleep downstairs in the living room every night, so we knew it wasn't her. We would have heard her come up the stairs. We got really freaked out and slept with the light on. and Ashley never turned the bathroom light off in that bathroom. At one point in the middle of the night, I woke up because I heard the bedroom door open. It had previously been closed, and so it jostled me about, and when I rose up, she woke up. I'm staring out into the hallway through this crack in the door, trying to see if her mom had come in there for some reason, when all of a sudden the bathroom light flickers and then goes off. I'm smacking her leg like, "Are you seeing what I'm seeing? Are you seeing what I'm seeing right now?" Then the door to her sister's room slams closed. We knew it was late, so we literally slammed our hands across our mouths to keep from screaming at the top of our lungs. I looked at Ashley and was begging her, "Please go wake your mom up. Please, please, please go wake your mom up." So we didn't have cell phones to check the time, but we did have the house phone. She wanted to see how close it was to the normal time her mom got up so she wouldn't be pissed that she woke her up. So where we live, we have this thing at the time called the time and temperature man. You would call this number and it would be like a robotic voice that would say the time is blah 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 and the temperature is da 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 da. So she called the time and temp man and it was 3:15 on the dot. Which if you know, you know. You don't mess around at no 3:15 in the morning. Needless to say, we didn't care about her mom getting mad about us waking her up anymore. I've never flown down steps so fast. I mean, I literally closed my eyes so that I didn't catch a glimpse of something in the bathroom. And as soon as we got to the bottom of the stairs, the bathroom light turned back on up there. If I have to have nightmares, you all do too. Anyway, have a spooky night and don't forget to tuck your feet in so the demons don't take you under the bed.
Another spooky story. This one makes me even more uncomfortable to talk about than the first one. And once again, this is true. You can believe me or not, but it happened and I really wish it didn't. In 2018, I went to a store and already the store made me kind of uncomfortable. I went there for a particular reason. But the store already made me uncomfortable because there were all kinds of things that were just around the like perimeter of the store that I was just kind of like, what is all this? But the vibes in the store was just off. But the weird thing was, the minute I got in the car with the item, I felt uncomfortable. Because I remember I kept looking over at my passenger seat for like no reason at all. And I was just like, oh, like I just don't feel right. Like I shouldn't have even gone in there, but I did. Anyway, I get home and all night I kept looking like I'm, just enjoying my day. And my mom and my grandmother lived with me at this time. And I get home, I'm enjoying my day, but when I was in my room, every time I would be in my room, I'd look over to the this one corner and I just kept feeling this uncomfortable vibe. And I just kept glancing over at that corner. I'm like, what is going on right now with me? What's happening? At the end of the night, I laid down to go to sleep. And I was just getting into sleep good when all of a sudden it felt like, no joke, like something grabbed me here, but on the inside, like not my actual flesh, and was pulling me. Like pulling like my spirit, I guess, out of my body. Cause I felt like it literally, that was the image in my head. Cause that's what it felt like. I was being pulled up and like towards cause my bed was up against the wall. So it felt like I was being pulled in that direction. And I remember I was taking this long breath, like I was exhaling and I couldn't stop exhaling. And it was so long, I don't even want to try and guess how long it was, but it felt like it was really long. And I was like long. And I remember at this point, my eyes are wide open and I always sleep with the lights on anyway. So it's not like I was in the dark and I'm laying there like, what is happening to me? And I come from a background where we pray, and we pray to God. And so in my mind, I immediately started praying and I'm like going in praying and I'm like pleading the blood of Jesus. Like, if you know what I'm talking about is like a prayer warrior, that kind of praying. And I'm like, I remember saying I can't even think of all the words I said just at this moment because I hate telling this story. But anyway, I remember just as I really got into praying like really hard in my mind, all of a sudden the pulling sensation stopped. And then I swear it felt like a anvil or something was on my chest, because it felt like I started being pushed down into the bed. Like I would have thought I was going through the bed. That's how hard I was being pushed. And I remember now I can't not even, I'm no longer exhaling. I can't even inhale. And I remember being like, feeling the bed, like, oh my gosh, am I going through the bed? And I'm like, what? Like, I'm praying, I'm freaking out at the same time. Like, what am I experiencing? And I remember after like maybe 2 minutes of that, everything just stopped. And I I got up in the weirdest way. It was like a robot. Like I just kind of, and I walked out of my room and I went to my mom. I was like, Mom, like, I need you to pray. I don't know what just happened, but I need that to never happen. That pulling was the scariest and weirdest sensation I've ever felt in my life. My mother got to praying. I threw away the item I had bought at that store, and I was just like, what in the world? I don't want to know what that was, but I never, ever, ever need to experience anything like that again. So that's my spooky story. I've had other crazy things happen throughout life, young and older, but that was probably the worst. Believe me or not. But if you've ever had any crazy experience, please like comment below. I just want to know, had anybody else experienced something like that?
So this person is asking people to tell their ghost stories that sound not true at all. And I grew up in a haunted house, so I have quite a few of those. So I grew up in a suburban neighborhood in New Jersey. There was really no reason we thought our house would be haunted, but it was really fucking haunted. There was only one family that lived there before us, and I don't think any of them died in the house. So I'm in my bed. It's like 10, 11 o'clock at night. I'm probably like in middle school or early high school. And I have my door closed because I slept with the light on because I was afraid of the dark, because you would too if you lived in a haunted house. But my parents didn't care. They were like, we need to sleep in the dark. And their bedroom was across from mine. So if I slept with the light on, I had to keep my door closed. So my door's closed, chilling, playing video games in my room, in my bed. And the door opened. Just like a smidge. It opens a smidge. And at first I think it's my dad on the other side of the door, because I see kind of a masculine figure. I see facial hair. I'm like, okay, that's probably my dad. And so I'm like, okay, Dad, I'm going to bed. I'm closing my DS. I was not closing my DS. And I'm like, I'll go to bed soon. And then it starts laughing at me. Not like laughing, but like a chuckle, like a hee hee. And I'm like, haha, yeah, Dad, I'm going to bed. I promise. And then my door opens even more. And I'm like, ooh, that's not my dad. That is not my father. About a year or two later, the movie Insidious came out, and if you know the movie, you know exactly where I'm going. This person on the other side of the door had like dark maroon skin and had like bushy hair, bushy beard, and like yellow eyes. And I'm just sitting there in my bed, stunned. This thing is still like chuckling at me. It's like, hoo 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 hoo. And it's not sleep paralysis. Like, I can move. I just don't want to. I'm like terrified. And it keeps laughing until it goes shh, and then closes my door. And I never saw it again. Never had saw anything like that ever again until I saw Insidious, and I was like, oh my God, that's the guy. Obviously not based on me or anything real, but like it was the closest thing I had seen to what I saw that night. But yeah, I just remember going back to playing Dragon Quest IX after, because I was terrified. So thank you, Dragon Quest. Love you.
These stories remind us that the world is far stranger and darker than we're led to believe. From shadowy folklore to unsolved crimes to creepy government experiments finally seeing the light of day. It's clear that mystery surrounds us in more than one way and more than we realize. Now, the question is, do you have a creepy story or encounter of your own that you want to share here with the Mystic Muse? Be sure to go ahead and email it into the mysticmusecreations@gmail.com. Y'all should know the email by now. So I can go ahead and feature your story on Mystic Monday. But until then, be sure to drink your water, mind your business, and stay prayed up and protected. And as always, Luna loves you. I'll be back with another one for you guys, if the spirits allow it. Give it right back, did they give it right back? This up, baby, can I sit right back? Wanna give it right back?